Okay, this is Collecting Alice, Part 5, non-English language versions, older versions, and the publication of the Lewis Carroll Society of North America. So first of all, Alice in Wonderland has been translated into over 170 different languages. Now when you get the books, most of them will be totally whatever the language is, but you can find some that are part English and part another language, so you can compare the two. One of the questions that might arise is, why are there so many versions of Alice in Wonderland? Because we're so used to this idea of everything has to be copyrighted, and if you do anything like that, you're going to be in major trouble and so forth. Well, the copyright date to Alice in Wonderland expired in 1907. The copyright date to Through the Looking Glass expired in 1948, and the copyright to Alice's Adventures Underground, which was the first version of Alice in Wonderland, that also expired in 1948. So that's why so many companies today can still put out Alice in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass without getting into any copyright difficulties. The other thing is that the original British copyright for Alice in Wonderland applied to Great Britain. It didn't apply to other countries for some reason. And so that's why some other countries were putting out Alice in Wonderland books and Through the Looking Glass books, even though it was still under copyright in England, but not there. So they could get away with it legally. And one other aspect to keep in mind, and something I found difficult myself, is that a lot of the copies of Alice in Wonderland books, the older ones anyhow, don't have a copyright date in them at all. So it's very hard to try to figure out exactly how old that book is. Now, one of the things that helps once in a while is if the book was given to somebody as a present, and they'll usually write in it, I received this book as a present in such and such a year. So you know the book was published either that year or not, at least probably not very many years before that. That's about the only way to figure out an older copyright date. When you look at the books on eBay and other places, some of them will have a C in front of them, or a CA, which means it's circa. It's around such and such a year, which is all right, but I would still myself rather know the exact date. And so far, I have not been able to come up with any way to find out what the dates are of the book's missing copyright dates in them. You may find a few, but I wish somebody would put out something that would have all of the covers and the publication dates for those versions of Alice in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass that don't have a copyright date in them. Now let's go ahead and take look at some of the books. Okay, first of all, the versions that are related to Alice in Wonderland or are Alice in Wonderland in other languages. Miyuki-chan in Wonderland, there's two different sizes there. That's Japanese. Now we've got several other versions here which are Japanese or Chinese. And then a French version of the book, which has a pretty cover. However, here's another French version of the book. And then here's a version of it which is English and German both. And a version which is only in German. Now, you notice the question marks I've got here, and I'll show you these in more detail in a minute. Those are all that I don't have any idea what the year they were made in. They'll have where they were printed, such as Great Britain, but they won't necessarily have the year. Now, this one is 1904 or earlier. That's one of them that somebody had written a note in, received it as a present in 1904. 1916 is the earliest other version I have. 1904 is the earliest, but this is the second. 1932. Now this is 1935 or earlier, again with a note in it. 1946. 1948. 1952. 1954. 1955, and this one is also 1955. Now I'm kind of draw the line there in the 50s as being the truly old ones for my collection, and then I have ones that are, past that date. So let's take a look at some of these. This one, again, I don't know what date it's put out, but here's the interior, and you can see it is from a publisher in London. Now, the illustrations, black and white, not Teneo. I think the artwork's pretty good in this one, really. And the one about Father William balancing an eel on his nose. But you would wonder why anybody would want to balance an eel on their nose, but, different things. That poem, I happen to like the poem a lot. So there were a lot of drawings in this version. My own guess is it's from the 20s or the 30s, because you look at the style of the girl's hair, Alice's hair, and it looks like it might be from that time period. I personally happen to like the older artwork like this. Okay, here's another version of Alice in Wonderland. And again, it's probably a slightly older version, 20s or 30s. That's my guess. I'm not an expert. There's the front page. And then you see, whoops, artwork there. This is Teneo artwork, I believe. And the book's old, it's fallen out. Sometime I'm going to have it fixed up. The next book, without a date. Now you notice this one does have at least who it belonged to. And that can get to be interesting too, as you wonder who had these books before you did. You can see this one was done in Great Britain. Big print. But you can see that it's lacking interior artwork. This one is 1904 or earlier. And how do I know? Because you can see who the book was given to and when. There's an interior page. And then you look, and there is some artwork in this. Also, the pages are yellowed. Then we get into the ones that actually have a copyright date on it. This is 1916, and I really like the artwork. Again, who owned this book before me? This one has the artist's name in it. And that's what I'm looking for now is different artists. I think I have about 70 different artists so far. Again, there's not a whole lot of artwork in this one. But there's the Tea Party. And I think that's a good art. And I think the artist did a good job on Alice. And what was interesting was at the end of this, it has an advertisement for toilet tissue. Now this one was 1932. The cover is, I don't know, some kind of a heavy paper. And when I opened it for the first time, it was so old it actually split. So I had to tape it together. And here's an interior page. And then the basic page. And you notice it has both Alice in Wonderland, Through the Looking Glass, and The Hunting of the Snark. And you can see there is artwork, and it's from Tenniel. Now this is the one from 1935 or earlier. Again, I like the artwork. And again, another one where I know who had this book at some time. And then there's an example of the artwork, which again I think is really neat. And this does have the name of the person who did the art. This is a scene from after Alice gets out of the Pool of Tears and she's on the little island or whatever it is, and the dodo and everybody else is there. This one is 1946, and it's a little odd shape for a book. I don't have much of any, if any, that other than this one. It's like that unusually shaped. And then there's the interior main page, Random House, New York, and some of the artwork, which has been colored in, which is not common, but still makes it interesting. This one is from England. And then there's the main page, and you can see the artwork is from Tenniel. Okay, this one is 1952. We're getting it, closer to the present time. The main page, and it fortunately has the name of the illustrator. And you can see it's pretty colorful. Now this is the paperback, 1954, Tenniel Illustrations. And there's the main page for that. This is 1955. It has the name of the person it was given to. They got it in 1960. There's the main page, and you see it's another artist. And this one, another 1955. The name of the person that owned it at one time. And again, the main page, and this one has another artist. I don't know how many artists have actually done this. I mean, I have 70, but I'm sure there's a lot more than that.